what?
Smiling is
I
okay.
can't stop
It's fine.
smiling. Like I
Well,
just,
that's
I just keep on smiling.
Can you change, Richard? Can you change it so it's Jessica first, then Aluail, then Jerome?
Okay, so
It's me, and then if you're going counterclockwise, I want Jessica next, so that we're doing what the table is, right? So
Looking
it's
at it.
yeah, because we're going
You disappeared.
counterclockwise in a circle.
You
Yeah.
disappeared.
Oh, okay.
See?
Dun, dun, dun.
So you
Oh,
know,
here you are.
no. Well, then now you want to switch Jerome and Aluail. Thank you.
Yeah, you gotta get them straight though. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I hate to do that, but it's so that everything's in sync.
It's feng shui. We know.
It's feng shui. Yeah, it's feng shui. Exactly. Is it possible to push Jessica over a little bit more, or no? Is that the way it's set up with the? I just don't want your face to get blocked by the. That's good. That's just.
Are you tired?
Thank you.
I think so.
You're what? Tired?
Tired.
Who's yawning?
Oh, well, it's
I
a lot.
just keep on yawning and yawning.
Well,
Okay, I got this.
yeah, you don't
Once we
need
get going,
water or
you're
Once it
anything
starts,
like that.
I won't yawn and I won't smile.
No, I'm not. Wait, first of all,
Smiling is
you can
okay.
smile anytime.
But the smiling is
You have a
gonna
beautiful
it's gonna
smile.
interfere with my talking.
No, it won't.
Okay.
Words to come out
just-
happily sounding.
Yeah.
They're not gonna sound
Joyful.
serious.
Well, you're going to say what you have to say. That's what I know. So
Okay.
that'll keep you.
Hopefully, I'll say it with a
grounded.
smile on my face.
Yeah.
Or they're not gonna believe
It doesn't matter if you smile. You're fine with smiling. Yeah.
me. Thank you.
Yeah. And the big thing is just focusing on we're having this conversation, because that's really all it is.
Okay, are the windows, would the
Yeah, we're
windows
good.
meet the approval of the Haudenosaunee?
Yes, they would. They absolutely would. They would be as thrilled as I am.
From the
It
windows
would be
to the
so
wall,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, windows to the world.
Windows on the
There
wall.
is a song by
Oh,
them.
what?
Don't get me started.
Please don't
Yeah.
sing. No.
Okay,
Save
should
that
I?
for your
You've
next
never
show.
heard me sing. You don't even know.
I said, please don't do it now.
I'm in 2 choirs. 3, if you count singing Resistance. Anyway.
Okay, so, you ready to start your show?
Okay, we're ready. Yeah.
Okay, on the button box, you have the number 5 with the circle around it.
Okay, yep.
Press that and then wait for the on-the-air cue.
Okay. And just a little warning that towards the end as I'll rein it back in to just close out the show. Okay. Thanks. Okay, so here we go. Oh, and you can always see where we're at in terms, because the timer is up there, and we're aiming for 58 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready to go. Okay. Welcome to Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center, being recorded here at Think Twice Radio in the home of the future, also the home of our friend and producer, Richard Wicca. Thank you, Richard. And I also, thanks to Tom, too, who's helping him out today and lots of days. I also want to thank WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative radio station, coming out of Buffalo State University. We love our friends at WBNY, and we especially thank our producers there. That's Greg Harvey, who's the chief engineer, and also our producer, Brian Harrell, who's a great help. So when I think of thankfulness, I also think of our indigenous friends and really BIPOC people, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, or so many people who've realized that gratitude is the attitude, and that thankfulness just helps us so much, no matter what kind of traumas, what kind of pain, what kind of difficulties we have, and injustices we might have experienced. There are still blessings to be thankful for. And so the Haudenosaunee, which first of all, we are on stolen Haudenosaunee land right now, on Seneca, or as they call themselves, the Onondaga, on their land, and the keepers of the Western Door. And all the Haudenosaunee start their different events out with a Konono or a Thanksgiving address. So they start off with thanking the people who made the gathering possible, thanking Mother Earth for giving us everything we need for a good life here on this planet. Being thankful for the water, the living water, Mini-Wachoni, water is life. Thanking all the different plants and animals, and they might go into so many different plants and so many different animals, and how they help us in different ways that they help us, and the knowers of the plants and the knowers of the animals, actually. So, and so many different phenomena in this world, and also in the sky rule of the brother, sun, grandmother, moon, and then, of course, the creator and the love that animates it all. And then they would say Yahweh, and the people would say no. So Yahweh,
No.
thank you for that. And thank you for coming. I'm so grateful to our guests who've come for this show on a very important topic, youth violence prevention needs. What do we need to prevent youth violence, to help youth not to go that direction, instead of doing things or not doing things that need to be done to keep peace and to create peace and justice. And no justice, no peace, no peace, no justice. So we'll get into all of that. I'm so grateful to Jessica Bauer Walker for coming. Hi, Jess.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks so much. We're so grateful for the work you do with CoNECT and the Community Health Workers Network, and all the work you do also at the Buffalo Public Schools. It's a very long title for the committee that you both on. I want to also say, Aluail, we're so grateful that you've come on.
Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. So Aluail so we need a youth voice when we're talking about youth violence prevention. And it's only because we don't have the structure of this show right now, we don't have as many. I know you just heard plenty of other, and you've also done lots of work with other youth who are, so we're so grateful to have your voice in this conversation.
Thank you.
I'd say the most important voice. Although everybody counts, but you count especially.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for coming.
You're welcome.
And Jerome Wright, friend of the show, I have to give a shout out to your own show being the Wright Report that gets recorded here at Think Twice Radio, right? And plus, thank you for the work you do with the New York State Jails Justice Network and Halt Solitary. But I want to say I wanted to do a show about the holding center, and we have done many about the criminal justice system, the holding center, and we will do one soon. But when I called you to talk about doing a show on that, you were all about this, the youth violence prevention needs. So that's what we're doing tonight. That is our topic for tonight. So thank you all for coming. So our first thing we're going to do, what we usually do, is just go around on values. So what are the values when you think of youth violence prevention, or even just violence prevention? What are the things the values that you think of as being important in the conversation? So we'll just go around. So, Jessica?
Yeah. Well, we say a lot of the time, nothing about us without us is for us, which is why I felt it was important to have Aluail here. For talking about youth, we should have youth at the table. So I would say, first and foremost, youth voice. And a lot of times, we're in spaces where people are talking about youth without them. And so I just want to center youth would be my most important value.
Wonderful. Yes, thank you so much. And Aluail?
I think for me, I would say courage. I think it takes a lot of courage to even speak on this topic, to even bring up your experience, or just and just talking about this topic in general, because it does it's a very sensitive topic, and
Yes.
you don't hear about this a lot. So I'd say a value is courage for me.
Thank you so much. That is such a critical aspect in our lives for getting anything done, and especially in this topic. Thank you so much,
Of course.
Aluail. And Jerome?
Caring. We lost the ability to care about one another, whether it be racial, religious, whatever it is. We just lost the capacity to really care about each other. And so if you can't care about yourself, how you gonna care about children? And youth need to be cared for, and we're not caring for them at all. And I know other people have, receipts about what's going on, but what we have now, youth who are been abandoned. Really, they've been left aside to fend for themselves. And I'm gonna be, blunt here. The parents
Please.
have not done the best job.
Mm-hmm.
But the community hasn't received the help it needs for even them to do the job they need to do sometimes.
Right.
So, it is a vicious cycle that we fighting, and I hope people will, listen to us today, especially listen to Aluail and say, there are some things that we can do. We're not talking about doing anything impossible.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you for that. That is so key. And I want to say, I'll pick what I usually pick because I think it almost always relates. And that is, unarmed truth and unconditional love. So as Reverend Dr. King said, unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. And I want to say truth is always important. So the truth about what's really happening, why things are happening, not just blaming other people, listening to the truth, hearing and learning. So back to Aluail, back to youth voices, back to also plain speaking about what is really going on and what really isn't going on, what needs to go on that hasn't been, or why things aren't working.
Jessica said something about nothing about us for us, right?
Right.
The other phrase that I would throw in there is that we're not all in the same boat, but we all in the same storm. And if we don't
Right.
navigate it together, everybody drowns.
Right. Well, and as I was starting to say, the other thing would be, our loving each other, caring for just as you said, caring, loving. We're made to love each other. That loving heart. If people haven't learned, to unlearn that, unlearn the caring that people get. I think, I like to mention my victory, the real victory, everybody wins. There is no victory without everybody being benefited. And the truth, back to the truth of the matter, is that people are not treated fairly or equally, that the resources that are needed are not there, that the bad examples are rife. And I mean, when we see the violence perpetrated by our government, that, so we can get into that as well. But so I think truth and love are two, very, very related values to every one of them that you just said. And the truth, so we'll hear more truth from Aluail and from all of us, because everyone, we've all learned and we have a lot to learn. So we'll keep learning from each other. So anyway, there were just two deaths in some kind of street violence or violence on the street, I guess, in Niagara Falls over the weekend. So, and some of the reactions, I think that was one of the reasons why you were so hot on the topic, and I don't blame you, because the blaming, back to the blame game that goes on, and also the remedies that people imagine. So, so let's talk a little bit, just to start with, of what do we think, some of the root causes are of the violence that happens in the street. Jessica.
Well, you quoted Dr. King before, and Dr. King said that violence is the language of the unheard, right?
Right.
So I know our youth have a lot of unmet needs, and that includes love and belonging, right? When you see
Yes.
our youth out here hurting themselves and hurting each other and destroying property, it's because they have a lack of respect for themselves and they don't feel like they belong in community, because why would you destroy your own home, right? Why would you
Right.
turn against your own people? And we see that a lot of the times. One of our major campaigns has been around solutions, not suspension, and ending the school to prison
Yes.
pipeline. And we
Yes.
see our children, young children, like suspending children as young as being in pre-K.
Ridiculous.
And seeing that that's so excessive and disproportionate that actually the Attorney General has investigated and came to a settlement with Buffalo Public Schools in February. And so when you see something that's like that, we are on the ground helping families, that's a flashpoint issue. But we can look at a lot of other things that are happening too, where families don't have food. The average family income in Buffalo is $50,000 for a whole family.
Right.
And I know a lot of times, it's disheartening to see so many people blaming youth and blaming parents too. And I understand to some degree parents can do better. We have an intergenerational program of parent and youth community health workers, so we work with and support each other. And we know some of our parents, they're doing the best they can. Maybe it's not the best in our eyes, but we've got a lot of teen parents, parents that became parents when they were still children themselves.
Right.
And so you see generational poverty. And if you didn't receive love, then sometimes it's hard to share it back again, right? So it takes a village, and our village has broken down quite a bit. I know for myself, I'm a single mom, and I have a lot of resources and wherewithal and connections, and sometimes it's extremely overwhelming for me. I have 2 teenagers, and we've been through a lot. And again, I know I'm more able to navigate this than probably the vast majority of people, right? I know how difficult it is for me. So I think just that piece of like, what are the unmet needs and how do we fill them, whether it's food, whether it's love, whether it's housing, seeing our young people turning to violence and alternatives and getting involved in gangs to meet their social, economic, emotional needs, we really need to address.
So beautifully put. Absolutely. So right. Aluail?
Wait, I'm so sorry. Can you repeat the question again?
Oh, well, just basically, why don't we start with some of what you see as root causes of some of the violence?
I think the lack of guidance. Like a lot of people don't have a lot of the youth don't have guidance at home. And then if they do have guidance, like say their parents come around and it's too late, like they're already they already don't want a relationship with their parents. And then they go to school and they're getting shut out by their teachers. Like they're getting shut out at home, they're getting shut out at school. So it's like they have no one. So of course, like when they get together and all these kids, they're like, I don't know, it's like their own little family in a way. So I think that's what it is. I think it's the lack of guidance that makes like the youth act the way they do.
Thank you for that. That is big. That is very big. And I see that on so many levels. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, I'm
Jerome?
gonna piggyback and give you one of the levels. The whole mass incarceration problem that we had
Yes.
eviscerated men from the homes who could be giving guidance, who could be helping support the family, who could be an economic lifeblood for a family, so the children don't have to go out. We're getting hit from just about every angle, and when you don't have, I'm not talking about the 2.5 kids and the picket fence. When you don't have 2 parents, she's a single mother. She says how hard it is, and she knows how to navigate it. Think about the people who don't know how to navigate it, or she's got 2. You got people with 4.
Right.
You got people with 6.
Right.
It's just not. We in a situation now where, in order to prevent this, it's got to be a holistic approach. You can't say this or that, and all they ever come with is more police, and that has never worked.
Well, quite the contrary. So actually, I want to piggyback off of that. So the violence, we were just talking about this before the show started, that violence begets violence.
Yes.
We know that. We've seen it. We've seen the way it ratchets up, when it starts. And I want to say from the very top level right now, and at every level, there is violence perpetrated by the government on people and so that's the example in front of us. Be the bigger bully. Look at our foreign policy. Look at the way Fear Inc. And also resource question. Where do resources go? Look at the budget as a moral document. Where the resources go, I like to call it Fear Inc. Fear Inc. being the efforts to control, intimidate, incarcerate, or even kill people. Right. So that's the military, the prison and prison industrial complex, the policing, the sheriffs, all of that. People never say, "Oh, we can't afford that." No, they say that about community centers or even school lunches, but they won't say that about the violence that is behind the auspices of the state. Then it becomes okay. No. No, it's still violence. It's still violence perpetuating violence. So I want to say that, and also when it's people over profit, that's when we're going to get somewhere. Where the other thing is, the impulses, the sort of societal values, like we put such a value on things and on being the richest and the most powerful and things like that. And so people see that and they think, well, why don't I have that? When we have, I just read this, 50% of the people in this country have 2.5, the lowest income, 50%. The 50% of the people with the least amount of money have 2.5 amount of the money, 2.5% of the money. That is mind-blowing. Or they also have about the same amount of money as Elon Musk. That's another way of putting it. But either way, it's just massive economic injustice. So there's all these injustices going on. And so then you wonder why people would get discouraged and disgusted and just go wild sometimes, because they're so angry and depressed and don't see a future for themselves. So it's just putting all of that together. That's pretty comprehensive. And we see it on all the levels, from local to more remote, right? But from just right around us as well. So if we think about, I'd love to go to this meeting that you just went to and hear a little bit about what were the questions asked and what were the statements being made about the topic of the meeting. So why don't you start with that, and then we'll go around. For those of us who weren't at the meeting, we can just sort of bounce off of what you both experienced there.
Sure. So, Councilmember Zanetta Everhart hosted a meeting at Mount Olive Baptist Church tonight. Just asking the community to come out and share ideas, and inviting the youth as well. And I was encouraged to see that there was a fair amount of youth that were there participating. And so I appreciated that, and really acknowledging, and us as adults being able to just let our youth know that we love and care about them. Right. And that we're here for them. And I think, just starting off with, like, what do the youth need? It was kind of just a variety of questions where youth were being asked some things and adults were being asked some things about, what do you need? What do you need personally? What do you need from government? For the same thing with us as adults, right?
Right.
Because it does take an intergenerational approach.
Right.
We need healthy adults. We need
right.
leaders who are leading.
Right.
We need city infrastructure that's, not currently there right now. We need relationship infrastructure. So it was good. There was a good, strong turnout. I saw a lot of people that I hadn't seen in quite some time. So I think some of the more informal pieces, like some of that networking and connecting and staying encouraged with each other, because it does get, I felt very, very heavy this morning, just dealing with all the events of the weekend.
Yes,
and just the ongoing reality and the amount of youth that we work with that are going to summer school that are super smart kids. It's like the system is
Right.
failing here.
Right. Right.
So it's easy to get discouraged and to start to feel hopeless, especially when you've been doing the work for a minute, like some of us have.
And working hard.
And working very hard, yeah. And at the end of, we do a lot of work in the schools, and
Right.
the kids only have a certain amount of time while they're still youth, right?
Right.
So that's kind of my hot take. And again, I was glad to have Aluail with me and some of our other youth community health workers and
good.
youth in general. So I'd love to open it up to her and get her take on the meeting.
Please.
My take on the meeting, I really, really liked it. I liked the format of it. They had basically they would ask the youth questions first, have them come up and put their answers on a board, and they'll have.
Oh, really?
They'll ask the adults questions, and they'll write it down on a piece of paper at their table. But I really liked the questions they asked. It really made you sit there and think, what do we really need for the community? What can help us improve the community? When can we start to improve the community? And just seeing the amount of people that actually showed up, because in my head I didn't think I was gonna walk in and see a mixed group of youth and elderly and everyone else between, and especially a lot of people of color as well. So it's I wasn't expecting to walk in and see that. So it was really nice. I think it was very engaging, and I think more events like that can bring the community together and help us take a next step forward.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Jerome?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't go. Now that I heard
Oh,
this,
me too.
this
Yeah.
glowing report, because I was nonplussed about it, because first of all, I found out at the last minute, and I don't know how you guys found out and were able to get kids together, but I found out today, like
Right.
about 12:30, in the afternoon, and like they having this, are you gonna go? And I'm like, an emergency meeting, and then you can put anything on the news you want. You can put everything. You couldn't post this more readily to people or get it out to the people going to get it out. It just, to me, the publicity, to have that many people you had was actually great then. But the
Yes.
publicity was not, when things are for us, we don't get the publicity. When they're against us, we are the number one story all day long. At 9 a.m. with it early, noon, 6, 6:30, 7, 11, 10, but not with something like this. This should have been on the news or publicized all day so that people, and it should have been at a time. You say 5 o'clock, people just getting home from work who want to participate. Kids just going to getting home from camp. You have to do things in a community-oriented way. And although it's a good attempt, and I'm not besmirching what they did, I'm saying we got to do better, because other people need all the voices. We just said that.
Right.
You got to take an interdisciplinary
Right.
approach, an intergenerational approach. It's got to be bigger than what you can't put a Band-Aid on this.
Right.
This is major life and death surgery we talking about.
Right.
And we don't want to do it with decency and order. You call something at the last minute, and then you don't give people a chance to participate. And then when they complain about what you're doing, you say, "Well, we had a forum, but if I couldn't get to it because you didn't let me know in time, then you weren't trying to help." In my humble estimation, and this is what we get too much of. I know Zanetta's a great councilwoman, and she's got some stake in the game.
Yes.
And she lives in the community.
Yes.
So I know her intentions are pure, but sometimes you can't. It's a process to getting the word out. Why we don't use the process and all the resources of that place should have been standing room only. It should have been kids out. It should have been kids in there.
It was. She said
Oh, it was standing room only.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised.
Well,
Because I was had the same skepticism as you.
But that's great. But then the thing is, when you got people running stuff, who is the leadership? Like you said, do you have voices from the youth who are not just voices, but voices that can articulate the issues? All kids can talk, but everybody can't say what we need.
Right.
Who are you asking? It just, to me, this is where I say care. If you really care, when you care about something, you dot your I's and you cross your T's. You don't play no games. When it's not what you care about, it's not a high priority, then you make little things like that, and then you say, "Well, I reached out."
Well, what I'd say, I think I might have, I don't know if I heard about it other than from you. And there's so much going on right now of all kinds. But I have been to similar meetings, and they've been had at Mount Olive Church before, and so it's good. And thank you, Zanetta. Thank you deeply, and thank you, everyone who went. So and that's positive. It's definitely good. But then it's also, what do we do with that information? Do we really have transformational change?
Also reactionary.
Well, it's a
We should be
reaction to what
proactive.
happened.
Before school ended, we should have had something like this, knowing they were going to be out in the summer and this was going to happen.
So, and what I'd say, one of the things that we do, we have Camp Peace Prints, which I really, think is part of what we need for kids, really building kids up. And for example, the kids are planning the camp this year, and they picked the topic or the theme of camp, which is democracy. So they know, and they're, picked that as the thing that is most important to them, and so I feel like that is such a help to give them that, and then give them more of the information, so there'll be, speakers to come and help them to know more. And then that the respect and the initiative, to take your own initiative, to decide what you think is important and do. So so it's great to have that a meeting like you just had, and then it's just, do we get to do the next step where the youth voices that have been heard are then attended to with resources to back them up and some ability for them to navigate some things about the way they want things to work. And back to the blame game, when people say, well, parents should be doing more. Well, back to what you said, is people can only do what they can do, and if they don't have either the experience, the know-how, the resources, or whatever, then they can only do so much. I also wonder about the resources that we have. Do they get used in the best way? I know that we talked for quite a while. First of all, the two things about the school system. One, about the idea of community-based family support programs. There was a move for a while where we were talking about using the schools for a lot longer period of the day, not just, we're done, then with the after-school program, then you're done. But going into the evening and making it a real hub for community, for the family's needs, for an intergenerational approach like that. So I want to say that would be something very practical that could be a help if people wanted it. And the other thing is back to what you said about youth, we've done a number of programs on the school suspension, solutions, not suspension. And I'm so glad that there's been some progress there, but there's still a lot more needed to be done. So it's back to putting the supports in place, doing the listening that's needed. So let's talk about that, some more about what we think the supports might be that would really help most. So we'll go around on that.
Yeah. I think there's actually a lot of money being spent and a lot of programs and services.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not, Buffalo Public Schools has a $1.4 billion budget, it's bigger than the city of Buffalo. You look at some of the salaries that people are making in police, fire, Buffalo Public Schools administrators, they're pretty astronomical, again, especially, and the fact that so many people who work in the city and Buffalo Public Schools don't actually even live in the city. And so there's,
Right.
the situation is like increasing in terms of the segregation and the racialized economic disparities. And then you throw in the educational pieces, right? Like we have even more schools who are low performing this year than the year before. Like things are not getting better. And you look at the data and it's like, only 30% of the children can read and write on grade level. And so, and we know, like prisons are built based on third grade literacy rates, and then the kids are getting suspended. And it's just like we see this all the time, right?
Right.
We deal with these cases, and we're literally pulling the kids out of the school to prison pipeline.
Right.
And we need, a lot of times, there's well-intentioned people, but they're not of and from our community, and so there's a gap. And that's why we have our program, and we have a Board of Education recognized parent group. So it's a long name, but we're the Community Health Worker Parent and Student Association. And so we are parents and students helping other parents and students.
Right.
So we know what it's like. I know what it's like to have to face some of these issues as a parent for other parents. And again, we'll hear like, these parents are acting crazy. Okay, let me talk to this parent. I will take an angry parent any day versus a parent who's shut down, because that parent cares. That parent's fighting for their child still, right?
Right.
And so we'll work with them and we'll walk them through. Especially a lot of these behavioral issues. If you can catch them early and you
Right.
can intervene, then it prevents a lot of the problems from happening. Suspending the kids and pushing them out of school, it's not happening, right? You go into these suspension hearings, it's like a court proceeding, especially when they're these little kids. But even the high schoolers, I've been in
Ridiculous.
suspension hearings for boys riding around in a shopping cart, or, starting a fight club because they're bored, or, normal teenager behaviors.
Right.
Especially for black boys, black children in general, but black boys in particular, that are suspended 6 times more than their peers. Children with disabilities,
Right.
low-income children, families who don't speak English. It's a huge issue, and you see all the intersections of academic outcomes and discrimination and language access, like all kind of converging with that issue of suspension. And so it's not just about that, but our other huge campaign has been to get a new food commissary built because we have huge food insecurity issues in the city of Buffalo. And our students have helped they helped us to get over the finish line with getting that attorney general settlement. They were out here fighting, going to board meetings, going to common council meetings, speaking to the media. Like, we have been working on this. I mean,
Yes.
Vicki, like,
Yes.
this has been
Yes.
a 15-year campaign
Oh,
that we
yes.
have fought since Joanne Daniels was shot and killed in front of Lafayette High School 15
Yes.
years ago.
Yes.
And so the students really getting involved, and that's where I think more opportunities for the youth to show leadership and potential and
Yes.
have efficacy, to let them know you can make a difference, but they need appropriate adult support. And we don't make
Right.
any decisions. People a lot of times say, oh, your youth are great, you should tell them to do this or that. We don't do things to our youth. We do things with our youth.
Right.
And they make decisions with us, right?
Right.
And so that's really important. So they've helped us and informed our campaign to get it to a certain point. And yes, we've needed lawyers. Yes, we've needed other people too. But we need directly impacted people.
Right.
In this case, the youth, empowered, not just programs and services, but having a degree of self-determination, right?
Yes,
So they decide what
absolutely.
to do. So our other big campaign over the years, I have students that I worked with 10 years ago that are parents now that were out there fighting for school food, getting salad bars in the school and getting healthier food, because if you're hungry, you're not going to act right. And a lot
Right.
of these kids, they don't have, there's not food in the homes. And so we've made lots of changes with improving access to healthy, fresh, culturally appropriate
Yes.
food, trying to work with local farmers, especially farmers of color, to,
Right.
just lots of things there. And we were able to, push a campaign to get a new food commissary built, which is under construction on East Elvin right now, and also push for a community benefits agreement so that the developer has to reinvest back in the community, things like youth programs, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, with both the Attorney General settlement and the community benefits agreement, there's work to be done. Like, the fight continues, right? But again, like the students, Aluail can talk more about this too. The students were actually, we need to get out on the streets, and the district was doing a performative opening ceremony for the commissary, and I'll let her tell the story, but again, they see, like, there's some BS that's happening here, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
can see it. They're clear about that. That's why I love working with youth, because the adults are so conditioned to making excuses and protecting each other sometimes.
Yep.
Yes.
But the youth, if you give them a platform and say, no, what you're
Yes.
seeing, it's true. No, we see
Right.
it too. We see
Right.
it too. What do you want to do next? What do you want to do about it? And you create some degree of safety for them to take risks and feel like they can make a difference. I think that is critical, but I'd love to hear Aluail talk a little bit more about, some of the amazing leadership that her and the other youth have had. And also other programs or services or things that you think would be helpful for youth.
I just want to start off by saying, like, I think programs like this, especially like CHW programs, are very important, because I don't think without being a youth community health worker, I don't think I would be who I am today. Like, going into the training, going into my freshman year, I was not who I was now. And that's like just a blessing. So I just feel like if we have more things like this, wait, sorry guys, I can't find the word right now. Never mind. But if we have more inviting spaces for teens, and
Right.
we can watch them just grow, like I watch myself grow. Like, I look at myself from like
Right.
freshman year, and I'm just like, wow, like look at me now. Like, I'm able to talk in front of these groups of people. I could talk in front of the board members.
Yes.
Like, so I just think we need more opportunities to let children speak their mind without like talking at them and letting them like, oh, you're not grown, you can't do. No, just let kids be kids. Let kids like speak their mind. I don't
Right.
like. We need to normalize letting kids speak their mind. I think that's what it is.
Absolutely. You're so right. And that's why I brought up about camp too. That camp, those kids are planning the camp. And they said last year, we want to help plan the camp. And so I'm like, here we go, So this is the thing. And it's always been the peace agreement. We do a peace agreement every time, which is the guidelines or rules or whatever that come from the youth, and that's democracy, really. That's when people, nothing, go back to that again, nothing about us without us. I do want to ask you though, before we move on to Jerome, about what was the thing with that opening ceremony? What happened?
The commissary.
So basically, they wanted to. What were they putting up? Was it like the last
a beam.
Yeah, they were putting up the final beam.
Uh-huh.
And it was just all this like performative stuff. They're just gonna
Right.
sit here and make it all look good. So we decided that we're not gonna let that happen. We're not gonna let you guys sit here and paint this perfect picture when there's literally kids out here starving. Like, we're not gonna let that happen. So we went up there and we made some noise. We had posters, we had our own little stance as well, and we went up to people in the neighborhood and we were talking to them and we were letting them know what happened, because it's not like they were going up to the neighborhood and telling the people what were happening in the neighborhood. The people in the neighborhood were clueless. They didn't even know what was going on until we went up there and
Right.
we talked to them. So basically we just try to spread as much information as we could.
Yes.
And we just try to, we made our noise and we let them know that this is not okay. You can't just sit up here and paint this perfect picture and make everything seem okay when there's kids that can't even like read or write. There's kids that are hungry at home. So
Right.
we just do the best we can to bring outreach. Yeah.
People over
Thank you.
profits, right?
People
Thank
over
you
profit.
so much. Right. That's so much of what's needed. Beautiful. Beautiful. Wonderful. Jerome?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on needs. So,
Yeah,
whatever
no,
you
no,
think
I'm
about
just,
how. Yeah. It's wonderful to hear,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's wonderful to hear, and it's unfortunate that we got to hear it
Right.
the way we got to hear it. It shouldn't have
Right.
to have that.
Right.
Wow, what we really need is somebody like her to be making calls like they doing. I mean, you
put
can't.
you-
We
we're
bring
voting
people.
for you.
Yeah, we bring.
Yeah.
The, yeah, we bring the youth to the table, but
Yes.
we do like at home. We bring them to the table, but they can't say nothing. You know, the grown-ups are going to talk. The grown-ups are going to do it. You know, the biggest push for change in the criminal justice system has been people with lived experience.
Right.
Because you know what's going on. I know what was going on. John Q. Citizen don't. And then the narrative that comes out from the establishment is everything is all right. We got this thing good. Don't worry, you're safe. And all. When nothing could be further from the truth. And
Right.
that's you said earlier. Truth does not reign supreme in none of this, and we don't give them enough voice. So we should have a youth council. Why don't we have a youth council, a city youth council?
Yes.
Why don't we have students from each school be involved in another council? Because schools have issues that are different from youth out. Why don't we coalesce that? But we can put a blue ribbon panel again for anything. For the Broadway market, we could do it from Bill Stadium, we could do it from cleaning the streets on Jefferson, but we can't do anything for the youth. Because if we do something for them, they won't end up in that system. And they need them to end up in that system because that's how everybody else is eating.
This is how our issues are interrelated and interconnected, so much so. So, that's why I always think about the principles and the spirit, so the principles and the spirit of, people first, of having integrity, of, justice and fair sharing and all the things that we say we believe in. Do we really believe in them? Or is it just, how much can you grab first, and people just having a very jaded look at things and then settle for a lot of competition and injustice. And racism is alive and well, and the pushback to try and take us back and denying it. When you said things are more segregated than ever before, it's so concerning, because I feel like there's ways in which we're making progress. There's ways where some people are waking up more, but then there's ways where the pendulum, it makes the people on the other side of it push even harder. The people with the big money and the big power who just want what they want. And the common people, there's no thought for the common good. There's no integrity over what the efforts are. So I feel like back to listening to people and giving people what they need and putting people first, and especially putting young people first, And I see it all the time that there's a way, adults, we do want to hear from youth. So many people would rather listen to young people than listening to when we had speakers, I'll never forget when we had Michael Mann, an internationally famous scientist at a environmental justice rally or something, and people clapped for him and everything. But when the youth got up and read a poem, people went berserk. Why? So that is there. So why don't we harness that need to learn and listen and loving on our youth? You know, I mean, and that's what we need to do. So put all the BS aside and really, you know, make an earnest effort to listen to what people need. There is generational trauma. There trauma, shame, and stress that is acting on people's alert system. So fight, flight, freeze. I want to talk about that for just a minute. That's one of the things that happens, back to some of the triggers for violence, that people are at such a pitch because of unmet needs, because of trauma, experience trauma, and as just like violence begets violence, trauma breeds more trauma, right? Or hurt people. So we need to recognize that. We need more social workers in schools. I have to say, as a social worker, I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking to retire. But I'll never stop working because of caring. You know, so we need people who care to put that first. And we need the schools, just like I'm more of an abolitionist, but these institutions, whether it's schools, jails, prisons, and you know, all these institutions that are these closed off things, that's that sign of an unhealthy system.
Yes, it is.
When you can't have communication, when people are not allowed in, you know, and there's all this paranoia that is actually bred into, you know, they're doing shooter drills all the time. I'm not going to say none of that is helpful. Some of it is helpful, but mostly it's not, because mostly it's just feeding that idea that this is what's going to happen and feeding the huge problem that we have of distrust in our society, which is mammoth. So anyway, let's just go around again. Any reactions or thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, we really subscribe to a restorative framework too. And we work closely with the Area County Restorative Justice Coalition. We have trained parents and students ourselves, cross-trained as community health workers. So that model is really, again, people who are of and from the communities, who have lived experience. And if it's, you know, with the prison system, like that's your area of expertise, right? In our case here, we're talking about as parents, as students, right? So really empowering the youth. We do a 4-day training, and it's trauma informed. We're sitting in circle. We're using popular education, which most people have never heard of. Most educators have never heard of. You know, that's how the civil rights leaders were trained at Highlander Folk School, right? That's solidarity. We say everybody teaches and everybody learns. And every single time I'm with the young people, I learn something, but we have to shut up. We have to stop talking all the time. Adults take up so much space, and part of it is we need to be heard too, right? But we need to have our own spaces too, and we need to really create spaces and help youth to find their voice. It doesn't just happen too. You don't just pull a youth off the street who's never spoken to adults really and say, speak, get up on this platform, right? Like Aluail came in, she was just going into her freshman year, right? And watching her grow, and from that, you know, intensive 4 days where we use that format, right, to help you find your voice and to get some background. But it's like me as a facilitator, I'm learning with you, right? And we're all learning from each other, because the youth have something to teach each other too.
Absolutely.
It's mostly youth, right? And so we're facilitating that process to help them learn and grow. And then Aluail last year, she was one of our youth trainers and facilitators, and that was super powerful. We had 2 young women and 2 young men who were helping to facilitate with myself and another adult, and there was things that they could do and how they could connect to other youth as peers that we could not do as adults, right? I mean, sometimes the boys in particular, right? They start to, we got to call in like Desire and Julius for that, right? But they can help settle things, and they can talk to each other in a different type of way. Or sometimes I'll say to one of the youth, help me understand what's going on there. Like, am I missing something? Or they're bringing suspension cases to us, right? Like, so really, like, what does solidarity with the youth look like, right? And we need to be adults. I mean, we see a lot of adults out here acting in unwell ways. So we have to do our own work too to heal ourselves, to make sure we're not passing that along. Like, I see the stuff in the schools to people who are, you know, trained professionals and doing things to children that is wild, you know, like so unacceptable. This is an environment for children. Do you want to work with children? But
Right.
people are traumatized from being in these oppressive systems, right? Like
Right.
being in the healthcare, prisons, schools,
Right.
even schools
Right.
have become
Right.
systems of oppression in a lot of
Yes.
ways.
Yes.
And so I think we need to like break that down, use that restorative framework, which a lot of it is tending to the root and dealing with unmet needs. And when a harm happens, whether it's small or larger, but if you have practice, like we do check-ins every single time we're with each other, like even a fist to 5, how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 5? Just raise your hand. What would it look like for us to have that as a practice where we just genuinely check in on our kids? And if they're showing up saying, I'm a 1 or a 2 today, there's an unmet need there, right? So like,
Right.
let's create a space where we're providing care and concern from them. And then when something happens, because we're human beings, conflict happens. And if we have practice working through conflict, then when it's a small thing, we know how to handle it when it becomes a bigger thing. And so that's been really powerful
Right.
for us too, to like give that foundation to our young people as community health workers, right? You've got lived experience. We're going to help you channel some of that into a better space, and then give them training to sit in circle, to find their voice. When a conflict happens, how do you run a circle? How do you run a restorative conference? How do we fix a harm that's happened? So they're
Right.
able to do that with their peers,
Right.
and we can support them as needed. And then also the advocacy piece too, because sometimes we have to speak truth to power. We have to confront stuff. That's not always the first tool we pull out in our toolkit, but advocacy plays a role. And if we don't stand up for ourselves, things are going to happen to us, right?
Right.
And so I think it's like a combination of those things that, again, we need to like help facilitate the youth. And it's not a one size fits all approach, but how do we build that knowledge, skills, and understanding so that our youth have those tools? They're not learning it in school.
Right. No, thank you so much for that. And it's back to what you said about courage. You know, that courage that it takes. And that takes really help from other people too, to help develop that courage. And it's catching too. So what would you add to that?
Oh, the courage part?
Well, the
Or-
courage part, or also the part about what more things of what is needed, what is going to help sort of move the needle to a healthier climate and a healthier behaviors for
I think-
children, youth,
Oh.
and adults.
Better relationship with the city police I feel like that's our biggest problem right now. A lot of the kids, especially the kids of color, are terrified when the police come around. Like the police
Join
could
the
just
club.
be turning the corner and the kids are running.
Right.
And it's like, I mean, they have all rights to be scared. Do you see the way these police act out here?
Yes.
So it's like, I think
Yes.
that's our number one problem right now. I think the people in the community, if we had a better relationship with the police, our communities would be thriving. They would have been thriving years ago. But it's just, there's a big like gap. There's a very big gap.
Yes. Thank
But
you
I
for
think
that.
starting there, if we start there, you would see our community thriving in less than a year.
Thank you for that, Jerome.
She said it. Glad you said it before I said it. When we talk
Yeah.
about racism, we talk about a police force that's racist. I don't.
Right.
And let me clarify with this racist thing. If you're wearing the uniform and you acting with or how they act, then you're being racist. I don't care about your ethnicity or whatever, because it's directed at young black, particularly boys, but young people of color, right? I can't imagine having the relationship that she would like to see, that we really need, even happening. And that's bad to say that, because I'm an optimist on most
Right.
things.
Right.
But when you have a system that indoctrinates its workforce to hate somebody, to disrespect, to dehumanize, that's in the training. It's not like it's a little group. It's not like it's one or two bad apples. It is a systematic thing. And until you change that system, our communities get policed. Other communities get protected by the police. And that's the problem. And young people now, with this fear, with the trauma, with no resources, Aristotle said it. Poverty is the parent to both crime and rebellion. And wherever you see crime and rebellion, poverty is at the root of it. And it's not just poverty of money. It's poverty of thought. If you can't think of doing more than one thing because you're stuck on this block, That's a poverty situation.
Right.
It ain't. You can have all the money in the world, but you never left Broadway. That's poverty. And we got this. We have all of these forms of poverty, and nobody's meeting the needs. Nobody's meeting the need. You say we can give $4 billion to the prison system. We can give a couple of billion to the sheriff. We always have money to oppress. We don't give money to free people. Mentally, socially, we don't. And that's the problem. And the youth now are not the youth of before who were listening to us. They got their own voice now. Between the internet, between sports and all, they're more together racially than ever any generation I've seen in this country. And they're going to find out really soon that togetherness is not going to be broken by Fear Inc. or trying to buy some people off or whatever, and that these young people are going to take leadership, and it's not going to be the leadership that we've been experiencing, and I'm waiting.
Well, thank you for that. And that is an encouraging word, coupled in with some of the discouraging words that you started with, because I do think it's so important. It's so important that we are trying to be the change, and that we know what those changes are. We know what they are, what's needed. And that's community. You could say community and caring. You could say communication and cooperation. You could say truth and love, or those things, integrity and solidarity. Moral integrity and universal solidarity. If we really adhere to those things and try very personally, very much so, and for people to realize racism is
mental illness.
Is mental illness, but it is in the air we breathe. So when people say it's not happening, just look at the legacy of the history. It's with us still. And especially for some crazy people pushing back with a lot of lip service that is in denial. But we're almost at the end of this show, so I want to go around for everybody with your final word. Maybe let's say to really focus on how people can learn more and get more involved.
Can we start this way?
Yeah,
Sure. Well,
that way.
I think we're good to keep going around. You're going to get your turn. You'll get your turn. I'm sorry, it's the Haudenosaunee.
I
Go ahead.
All right, we're going to keep the circle
Short.
practice here. I think that everybody just getting involved in some capacity is really important. Like, we can't get discouraged. Like, it's okay if you need to shut off the news or,
Right.
take care of yourself for a period of time. But
Absolutely.
we need to get involved. Like, anything that you can do, especially to talk to the youth and, create a space. Like, be a safe adult. Be an adult that youth can be, that they can trust. Because the adults generally are not trustworthy for the youth. And it also just not lecturing and stuff like that. We have to just provide a space to listen and be trustworthy. And so I would just say, it doesn't need to be a program or a service or a big thing. Just be a safe and trusting adult, whether
Yes.
it's in your neighborhood or the school that your kids go to school in or whatever.
Right.
Just be a adult that a youth can come to.
Thanks.
Yeah, just basically what she said, with just adults in general being letting kids be comfortable around them, you would see the change in letting kids talk. Because it's realistically, we're the future. And
Yes.
no offense, the elderly, their time is coming to an end. So it's you guys need to help us before you guys go. Because then once you guys go, we're not going to know what to do. So I think just helping us help you guys.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Those are my last
so
words.
beautifully put. And Jerome?
I just want to say thank you to you for your words and wisdom tonight, but for your courage to come and
Yes.
speak what
Yes.
you did. I don't think we give our youth their flowers enough. We can jump on them when they do something wrong, but
Yeah.
when they're glowing, we don't say thank you.
Everyone
and
bats
bravo.
an eye. Everyone
Right,
bats an
and
eye.
I'm saying bravo to you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your words tonight, for being here, for being astute enough to see what the issues are, and being willing to go alongside some older people and try to work it out
course.
together. There's a lot of you won't do that. I'll do our thing, but we ain't gonna mess with them, or whatever it is. But thank you, and I hope the people that are watching this see you. You said you weren't always like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you can grow and be whatever you want to be, And she's a living
definitely.
example of that.
Most
that
definitely.
she remembers who she was freshman year till now, and she's seen the change in herself. Everybody can do that. Don't believe that whatever situation you're in, you can't, because we have a perfect example here. And lastly, I would say thank you to Jessica. I mean, I don't
you.
know her, but I feel her spirit.
Well, you do now.
And everything. Yeah, no, but
That's one of
everything
the
she
purposes on
she
this show.
said needed to be said, and it needed to come from her as opposed to the angry parent, the angry black man, where it gets discounted. So please keep speaking up, and please keep loving and caring about them, because without that, we see what happens. And thank you for pulling this together. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, and it has been a blessing for me, more than I think it may have been for anybody else, to see that the optimist in me was encouraged tonight. Even all the bad stuff we talked about, when we have people like this that can take over in a little while, I'm good.
Thank you. Yes, it is so good. It's a big blessing for me too. Absolutely. I couldn't be more grateful.
Yeah.
Talk about gratefulness. You know, grateful for all three of you, for all the work that you do, and especially for you, because you're going to be doing it, chances, probabilities say, for longer. And just so much that needed to be said and that needs to be heard. So, you know, I hope for people who are listening, you know, onward, so we can get involved in some of these different groups, or just be, like you said, very informally. You know, we have to be the change, and just caring and loving each other and listening to each other and learning from each other. So anyway, I'm so grateful to you all. Thank you so very much.
Of course.
This is Talking Peace, and together we've been talking peace in truth and love. So I'll just say Nyahweh, and then you can say Nyo.
Yeah.
No.
Nyahweh.
No.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, hot mic.